Hey everybody, I'm Rick Beato. So a couple weeks ago, Megadeth was touring through Atlanta, and guitarist Kiko Loureiro reached out to me and invited me to the show. So I said, hey, why don't you come by the studio and we'll do an interview before that. Now, I've been a fan of Kiko's for years. I follow him on Instagram. He's a phenomenal player. And this was a really great sit-down interview that we did. Here it is. Kiko, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much, Rick, for having me here, and big pleasure. And on behalf of everyone here, all your viewers, thank you so much for all the videos, all the content, all the wisdom, and
same with you.
And doing a great service for all of us.
A couple things just to start off with. How difficult is it playing rhythm guitar in Megadeth? Like when you first joined the band, was there anything that was kind of tricky? Because Dave's rhythm parts are really hard to play.
Yes.
I think.
Yes. And the first thing was like, because you come with let's say, like an idea that, okay, it's going to be like all downstrokes.
Yes.
But no, maybe it's like, maybe you have an upstroke that, like, let's say like, it sells, but the chord has to be upstroke.
Now, is this something that you figured out before, or did Dave show you this?
No, Dave is very picky. No, this one's
okay,
upstroke,
this is what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay,
let's everything.
Let's demystify some of these things, okay, about how some things are played, that there are no upstrokes. So there are upstrokes.
Lots of upstrokes.
Okay.
Like Pantera as well.
Yeah.
Because you have a sound, but when you it's a different sound. The upstroke, like, but you have to, it's like doing this.
Right.
You know?
It has a snap.
Yeah, the snap. Or the groove, or. So, down, down, down. It's different than. Okay, it's more like precise, right?
Yeah.
But then when you have. Can add some.
That is so hard to do, though, and it's so consistent like that. I mean, it's really difficult to do.
Even like, see, you can get different tones depending on the angle.
Okay, so when you joined Megadeth, did Dave say, "Okay, this is how you do these things"?
Some stuff, yeah,
right?
It's like it's not, but I could hear it's not sounding exactly the same. Like why?
Yeah.
I'm playing the same notes, but it doesn't sound like him. And I know it's the hands, because Dave he has heavy hands, right?
Yes.
And I practice my entire life to play very lightly and softly. To get a good technique for me would be always finding like just play light somehow. So there's a lot of delays here, but. So I can't. So I play the same thing. Just I don't press. So that's the way I practice.
Yeah.
So it's so light that you don't get the note.
Yeah.
So if I press just a tiny bit more,
yep,
then I get the note, right? So the same here, very light.
No upper arm motion though.
I'm left-handed, so it's kind of
interesting. I was wondering about that because when we were talking, you did a writing motion and you did it with your left hand. I was like, I wonder if Kiko's left-handed. Do you think that do you think that gives you an advantage with this hand, but a disadvantage with the right hand? Because the right hand is like writing. That's why most people play.
Yeah. So this movement, of course, with my left hand is way more precise.
Yes.
Because the writing.
Yes.
So I don't have the precision here, right?
Yeah.
So I have to practice this, and I knew since the beginning.
Yeah.
To be, practicing only.
Okay, so but with the left hand though, the power of having your dominant hand fretting, do you think that helps?
I think in the beginning. I think in the end. It might be a bit controversial, but I think, and then maybe not the right word to say lazy, but like it's only the rock musician that switch.
Right.
You never seen like somebody playing a cello, left-handed,
Yeah.
Check out an orchestra. You don't have lefties there.
That's right.
Or a piano, like a piano for a lefty.
Yeah.
So it's only in rock, like the drummers invert or bass.
That's right.
Players, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just when you start, doesn't matter, I guess, I think the bad part is like use a lot the left hand to write, to eat, to open doors, to carry heavy stuff. Then it might be too much. If you practice a lot, you might have some tendinitis. So I had some tendinitis throughout my life, and because of that.
Now, what about like economy picking or sweeping and things like that? How do you change your thumb position and things like that when you're doing that?
So in the very beginning, I was only into the alternate picking. And I do have a routine.
Yep.
Like a practicing routine. I believe those fundamentals are so important. Understanding the movement of one of the hands first. Then you can make it more complicated with swing skipping,
How do you stay relaxed,
We
though,
can talk, I can look
Kiko?
at you, and then you keep doing, So we have to have this, because mainly live,
Yeah.
you need to be like,
Right.
You want to get the G, I can
Right.
get the G string like this.
You know right where it is.
Because you just learn where are the strings, So then you can, this is like one note per string, so then you can just start doing something musical, right?
It's so relaxed, though. It's great.
You just start training music, different chords, and so then you can do the same with two.
Yep.
The pentatonics. 3 for 5 for scales, and then 4. So if I have my routine like so the parts like 1 per string, two notes, 1 note per string, 2 notes per string, 3 notes per string. So then you start combining those things, Always playing first just the right hand. So the fundamental exercises, then I choose something more musical. Then I can, the chord, like I played here with the chords, I can create something as well. It's a great moment to discover new ways, new things, and then you never know, a song can just appear. Then you have a moment to try to push your limits, try to play a little
You're playing and usually practice with the metronome when you're doing these things,
metronome.
right?
It can be,
okay, what about arpeggios when you're doing those? Now, how do you finger those? How do you practice those? And do you use sweeps in there?
Then the sweep picking came later, watching the Chicoria from Gambale,
right.
It's like, wow, that's hard. And then of Malmsteen, I think first Malmsteen, the triad, arpeggios,
Yep.
Then when I saw Gambale, I was like, wow, this is amazing. But it was very hard for me. Maybe because I'm lefty.
Yeah.
Very hard to have this precision,
Yes.
to play. But then you can practice the same way.
Wow.
Like a 3,
Yep.
4 strings, 5, 6.
That's a great.
And then the difference, because at first what happens is like you might play the first note and the last note, right? When you first learn the technique. But the hard part of the sweep picking is to play slowly.
Yeah.
And control.
Yes.
So 1, 2, 3. And not like hopping like this, right?
Yeah.
And having the control for playing any combination of strings.
That's some of the most relaxed sweep picking technique I've seen there. You're not angling the pickle. You're not angling the pick as much as. I mean, Frank really angles the pick
like
down
this.
like that. Yeah. When he's doing
Yeah, and to be very, that's like, I don't know, like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't like that sound.
Yeah.
This. I didn't like that.
The scratchy.
I didn't like the scratch.
Yeah.
I sound like.
Yeah.
That's a pure sound.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Not that. Not this. So I was like, getting this sound, not this sound.
Right.
See the difference?
Yeah.
The attack.
Yeah.
So. Right, so, or with distortion, or something like that, right? Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so show me your what your normal practice thing would be, Kiko. If you were gonna sit down and say, okay, I'm gonna practice for 30 minutes here. What are you gonna start with?
Well, before a concert.
Yeah.
Before a concert, now during the tour, we play the songs. We might play the songs.
I've seen you jam backstage and stuff.
Jam, yeah. Well, James Lomenzo and Dirk, we like
you
just
guys
to play.
Jam.
Just jam, yeah. And then.
But I see you play jazz stuff too.
Yeah, the jazz. Yeah, that was a time I was like, I need to know this. I need to learn. I was listening to jazz. I think in the beginning it was fusion, and then going deeper and deeper, into jazz. The fusion had this Brazilian element somehow from the 70s, right?
Yeah.
I guess even before, but clearly Return to Forever, right? Chicoria.
Absolutely.
The Native Dancer, When Shorter with Milton Nascimento.
One of the greatest albums ever.
Right,
One of my favorites.
So when you start, okay, I need to learn this fusion thing, and then you start going deeper into those artists, and they'll discover, like, wow, but they're like playing Brazilian music here.
That's right.
Or they have always like a Brazilian guy there, like Nana Vasconcelos, and then, so
well, I always say, Kiko, the jazz is half, and we said this before, jazz is like half swing and half Brazilian music, because jazz musicians would always combine, they'd always have bossa novas on their records. I mean, a lot of jazz musicians would. They have swing tunes, and we call them swing or straight eighth tunes. Straight eighth tunes are bossa novas, basically, or Brazilian-influenced jazz tunes.
We don't have the triplet feel, right?
Yeah.
The groove is just... the summer. Right, so there's no triplet feel there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the way in the United States and Brazil, the whole history is very similar, with Afro influences and the European combining with the native and Afro influences, and I think the different religions took us to different places because the African Americans here start playing the European instruments, saxophones or piano, and then in Brazil they kept playing in the Caribbeans as well, playing the percussion, because the percussion is a way to to communicate with their gods, right? And then so we kept that in our Brazilian culture. That's why you see a lot of percussion and a lot of rhythms coming from the Afro culture, right? So, and then depending where in Brazil, of course, south of Brazil, then you don't have that strong, and then in the north of Brazil, you have some interesting mixing with the Spanish flamenco, I would say, a little bit.
Yeah.
Have this kind of sound as well coming from Brazil. They're like just a dominant, like a dominant.
Now, what would you call that feel?
That's Baião.
Baião, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of mixolydian, but not mixolydian pentatonic blues, but in this like pure format, adding some sharp fourth and then flat ninth as well to give the.
Now, when I heard the Bayonne thing, Pat Metheny would have some tunes that would have those rhythms.
Oh yeah, you find sometimes, Snarky Puppy.
Yeah,
they have stuff like that too.
Yeah,
you'll see. Then you have Bayonne, Maracatu. You have the samba,
right?
Partido Alto, many other styles of music coming from Brazil. Choro would be a great, more combined with the European melodic, more like a Chopin kind of thing, I would say. Yeah, a lot of great stuff.
Okay, so how does that differ? How do you know all this stuff? You grew up in this culture, and then you play metal too.
Great question. I think like at home, my parents were like listening to that. They're from Rio, right?
Yeah.
So their heroes, Tom Jobim and Caetano Veloso, Gilberto Gil, and Tropicalia movement. I used to live in a building that one of the Tropicalia guys used to live there, Tom Zé. Mm-hmm. And then so I mean, I wanted to discover this. I was into music.
Yeah.
Of course, metal as a kid was like something more connected to my hormones somehow, than the guy singing like. But then, in '85, I didn't go to Rock in Rio, but it was a big event in Brazil.
Still big event.
Still, right? Yeah, it's still. But in '85 was crazy to see those big artists. I was a kid watching part of the concerts on the TV, right? So I could see Yes with Trevor Rabin, right?
Yep.
That Maiden, Powerslave, Queen, White Snake with John Sykes.
Yeah.
Yes, or James Taylor, George Benson, AC/DC, Ozzy.
Oh my God.
Like all in the same festivals, like all those artists. And then like B-52, some other stuff that I was not much into it. But George Benson, was like, oh, this is amazing, right? And then AC/DC, different days, kind of,
totally weird.
AC/DC, Ozzy with J.K. Lee, so like it was a big impact, for me. So I was playing classical guitar a bit.
Yeah.
So like I need an electric guitar,
Right.
I got a Black SG, a copy, not a Gibson.
Okay.
Giannini was because back in the days in Brazil you didn't have imports, so it was all national, Brazilian industry.
Yeah.
So basically those Italian families that went to Brazil, they started making classical guitars because of the tradition of the classical Spanish and Portuguese. Tradition of and here in New York, I think they went to this big jazz guitars, right?
Yeah.
The Italian luthiers, right?
Yeah.
In Brazil, they start doing this classical guitars. So basically, three families: Di Giorgio, Giannini, and Del Vecchio.
Okay.
And then Giannini started making some electric guitars as well.
And they would make copies of and how were the copies? So pretty good, right?
I mean, I still have mine. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's affordable at least. But so my parents bought me my first guitar. I was 14, so a Black SG, and I was into Black Sabbath. So everything started there, and then I started taking guitar lessons, and then my first lesson was that's what I want, So that was my first guitar lesson, and then I started studying. But at the same time at home, I remember my father giving me like a Paco de Lucia vinyl, so or like a Beethoven symphony. Which one? No, the concerto, D major concerto, violin concerto. So I was I was into music, and metal was a thing, and then my friends were into metal. Then I started to play with them, neighborhood friends, but into music. And I was never, I was very shy, so I was not like super social, but I was never afraid of, I like Tom Jobim, I like Girl from Ipanema, I don't have a problem liking, because when you're young...
It's in the blood though, right?
No, but in Brazil, it was more like, if you decide to be a rock guy, a metal guy, you should deny everything.
that exists.
You have
right?
to deny anything with percussion, anything that people are dancing to it. You have to deny, anything colorful and
Love it.
So to be a guy that's into metal and accept the Brazilian music, it was not a common thing between my friends. So.
Okay, so what kind of solos were you learning as far as in metal? Like, whose solos were you learning when you first started to work on things like that? Would you work on Jimmy Page solos? Did you learn?
My teacher, yes. Like the first lessons, Page, Hendrix, and Van Halen.
Okay.
I remember he was like, okay, today you have a lick from Van Halen or Eruption, and then some Page started to have famous just licks and small stuff.
Yeah.
And then the modes, I didn't understand anything. It took me a while to understand the mode stuff. I think the way people you have great lessons here. The way people try to teach the modes like completely weird.
Right.
And it's much simpler. But I think you need some. It's a journey. It's a process to understand the modes. But for me, I was like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Why all those names where I'm playing the same notes? Like when you teach like Ionian and Indorian, then it's like I'm playing the same 7 notes all the time. Why those weird names? I have to memorize. And it took me a while but that was the first guitar lessons, the modes, and then I changed the teacher, and then it was some jazz guys.
Okay.
And then it was making me play some standards, and it was fun, Autumn Leaves, those kind of learning those melodies. Then I got that was later, and then I got a great teacher. It's like he was the best teacher, and I have to thank you forever. Mozart, Mello, and he's still like teaching. He's the master of all the.
Does he have a particular method that he uses or something, or what's he do?
Yeah, he was just like studying. I don't know. He's like an engineer that plays guitar, kind of thing. Like very methodic, the way to explain things. Mm-hmm. So I got into that route of if you have a major chord, that you can play a minor chord from the third, and then there's another, like all this and then I would write this in like big stuff and put in my wall. Yeah. Like the combinations of triads. So like from this major, you can do a minor here. If it's minor here, okay, it's a mixolydian, it's like, I don't know, there would be like half diminished here, minor here. So it's still the way I think. If it's E minor, I would just play an arpeggio of G major 7th. Yeah. Or a B minor. I would say. I'm thinking about the B minor.
Yeah, you're getting those upper extensions and stuff.
Everything that I play is always. I don't think about scales.
Yeah.
I think it's a mix now in my head, but basically I'm thinking about arpeggios. It comes from those lessons, trying to understand all those combinations of triads, when they're together, what kind of sound you're creating. And then, then studying then I combined the stuff that I was listening at home, the bossa nova stuff and the big Brazilian artists. I was also playing the radio. It's not like this anymore.
Right.
Yeah. But there's a thing about Brazilian harmony that we
absolutely
we need. I need something,
Yeah.
Can you please, that's something that they Megadeth thought. Can we just transpose something here or put an extra chord here or something?
Right.
I think the blues is more like monotonic. I think that's it's more like they tell a story and stay there and tell a story, right?
Yeah.
The Brazilian like no more blues, Chega de Saudade, those songs. So it's a story, but the harmony goes
everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Right.
I think that the jazz also has this beautiful harmony, like when it's shorter composition, but then you don't have the lyrics.
Right.
So, and then it's like AABA format.
Yep.
It's more like, here's the theme, it's a beautiful melody, but let's improvise. That's
right.
Right? Or giant steps or
things I mean the songs are written so that people can improvise over it.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose.
And then the Brazilian, although it has this jazz influence or this I don't think it's like a jazz influence. It's just like it's just two-way thing, right? We also Brazilians gave to jazz as
that's right. Yeah,
as much as jazz gave to
that's right.
Brazilian music. But the Brazilian music were more descriptive, telling a story and with the harmony as well.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you get like it's problem. So if you get like normal blues, you have all those chords on the first verse.
Yeah.
First verse, right? The B.
Yeah.
So it's just with the harmony, you're describing the whole story,
Right.
even before the melody. Then the melody is there inside the chords, and then you can write the lyrics.
Now, in Megadeth, when you join Megadeth, okay, and you have these already established songs that have been around,
Yeah.
that people know the solos and things like that,
Yes.
how do you put your personality in that, and how much do you feel like you need to, what do you need to play from the solos? Do you have to play them exactly? Do you have to play the beginnings of them and then do your own thing?
I listen to the solo, and I try to play note per note.
Yep.
I would say like I'm too lazy to learn note per note. I never learned any solo note per note.
Right.
I was always too lazy for that. Okay, I get it, something like that. Mainly in the fast parts.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay, and so I try to get that feeling.
Yeah.
So yeah, not note per note, because solos from Mark Friedman. Some stuff he does, I don't know how to do it. So he does some like. I never, this
He has
technique
such
like
weird
this
technique.
No, I think he has interesting notes.
Yeah.
Got the famous solo from Tornado of Souls.
Yep.
Starts here, right?
Yeah.
That I like.
Yeah.
I like this chord, so
Yeah, it's
I
beautiful.
want to play this note. Right, and then you have this other moment, and then when it goes to G, and he plays. So he plays that Lydian, right?
Yeah.
So that I need to play. I need to play those notes.
Yeah.
Because that's like important stuff. And also the feeling, because Mark Friedman had this laid back.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Very laid back. So I think this is the important thing. The melody of the solo in this case. You have a melody, you have some arpeggios. Some arpeggios, like Mark Friedman, because I was learning guitar a lot from the guitarists from that period. Right?
Yeah.
Mark Friedman, Paul Gilbert, Steve Vai, Satriani, Greg Howe, all those guys, big influence on me. So the way he plays some arpeggios, okay, I got it, because I was
because that's kind of
studying that.
Yeah.
And then the feel is hard to get, because that laid back feeling.
Yes.
And then I remember having a conversation with Marty about that, and I was like, picture him listening to Japanese music, because he's super into the Japanese culture. So
Absolutely.
I was like, I can see you like you're listening to koto or whatever, those, the Japanese instrument, and you're trying to play those things with your solos, right? And then he agreed. And then, so that's the way I picture, So I try to picture something that probably the player was thinking, When I talk about Chris Paul and solos, and knowing, because Dave and the guys were saying, oh, he was into jazz. So I was like, oh, he was into jazz. Jazz from the early 80s, jazz is like Al Di Meola, Joe McLaughlin, Mahavishnu Orchestra.
That's
and then,
right.
okay, so when I hear this weird stuff, because he plays super fast, he's probably playing the diminished dominant, like dominant diminished scales like those. And then that's what he does.
Yes.
Kind of mixing the minor and major, or maybe. This sound.
Yeah. All those triads and diminished scale.
Okay, so then I play something fast, using that characteristic,
Yeah.
the diminished. That's what I do, And if he has a band, I try to play the band in the same place. I try to understand where the guitar is coming from, the influences. That's McLaughlin, is Alan Holdsworth, but he's not really Alan. He's a metal guy,
Right.
getting those influences. So that's what I do, and then I try my best. Then I play. So if I don't, try to play note per note, but I just try to understand. It's going to be pretty similar, and I'm going to have my identity because the way I'm listening those solos, I'm not trying to copy anyone. And then I try to get more to understand the influences. And I always say this to students, if you like John Petrucci, listen to John Petrucci, but listen to Steve Morse, Di Meola. You'll find a lot of stuff there.
That's right.
Because you just dig into what your guitar hero was listening to, And
Totally.
then what's going to happen in the end, you're going to be listening to Beethoven and Bach, like your interview with Sting, right?
Right.
Okay, you go. It's okay, everything was there like 200 years ago already,
Yeah.
It's just a different instrument, yeah. So, and on the same way, if you want to create something new, you have to deny some stuff that's already there.
That's right.
Which comes to your other video about the baby boomers band,
Right.
Right, boomers band.
Boomers
whatever,
bands, yeah.
Which is very cool, very cool concept as well for people who wants to create something new. You have to deny the past, otherwise you're always going to be playing.
This
the
is
past.
a great point.
Yeah, because it's not what you're creating new. You have to deny. So if you play now, it's like you're already playing something 50 years ago. Somebody already played
That's right.
50 years ago. So
Yeah.
you have just like, I don't play this. Never
Yeah.
go to that place if you want to create something new.
Right.
The same if you play 3 notes per string, it's gonna sound like this late 80s shredders.
Yeah.
So if you want to sound different, you have to avoid this. You have to
Totally.
So you start saying no to things, and then you might find your own way. So that's
This is
very
a
cool.
great point. Those are great points.
Yeah, it's something that I reflect sometimes because playing those solos from Megadeth from the past, I can see all those boomer bands. and specific, I don't like those.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do like the bands.
Yeah.
Bands, I think.
Bands are great.
It's something the guitar, it's not all the instruments that can do. That screaming
Yeah.
sound, right?
Kiko, what gauge strings are those, by the way? Are those 10s?
This is a 10, 50,
Okay.
52s.
But you're tuned down.
That's the standard, yeah, because
Yeah.
the console. Yeah. So denying. I remember like with Alan, was one of the best weeks in my life. Spent 5 days with Alan Holdsworth, south of Italy for a guitar camp.
Yep.
And then
I didn't even know Alan Holdsworth did guitar camps. Okay, what was that like?
That was a mess. Was Andrea Quartaroni was an Italian guy, great player. He set up this camp. Alan was the headliner. Was me and Richard Hallebeck, a Dutch great guitar player. And then he was there for 5 days. He didn't want to be there. He just didn't want to be playing. And then everybody was like maybe like 40 people,
Okay.
small thing. He just didn't want it.
And so what did he do? I mean, he must
was
have
playing
done,
chords.
Yeah.
And he was just escaping.
Yeah.
Seriously. He was not there. Oh, time for Alan. Where's Alan? We don't know. Go back to the hotel, bring the guy here. Yeah, it's like he didn't want to know. But I had great conversations like dinner time or lunch time or like, and then I remember one day I asked like, hey, Alan, you do all those chords and then don't you do, and then he played that chord.
Yeah.
And I never forget his face.
He's like, I hate that chord.
No, he makes like.
Yes,
like,
don't ever play that chord.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you play that chord,
Yeah.
you're never going to be Alan.
No.
To create something like he did, you have to deny you cannot play this.
No.
You cannot play this.
No. You got to deny all the standard shapes.
Yeah, you have to deny.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't create anything new.
Right.
I mean, if you want to be Alan, and I was talking to Tosin once. I have a video with him talking about this as well, and because it's kind of like if you don't bend, okay, that's great. It's a way to go. Alan was not bending.
Yeah.
He didn't, right? Maybe in the first videos, maybe he was when he used to have this white SG.
Yeah, he would do some bending.
Maybe, right?
Yeah, but not much.
But then it was just
That's right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Tremolo stuff. Yeah, so denying is the secret to create something new.
That's interesting to use that term, denying it. That's an interesting way of looking at it, and I totally agree with that. Though.
And then even like putting a name like Boomer's Band,
right?
You know, because then I'm not a boomer, so I'm not going to do this. You know, it's a great way to.
I'm a boomer, but I don't do boomer bands.
No, I'm just saying, like, you even create a name that's not like a bad name.
Yeah.
For the thing, you know. I don't know if it's a bad name, actually. I don't know. I think it's great to be a boomer. Come on. And a great guitarist. So like, but yeah, anyway.
Well, Kiko, it's been a pleasure hanging with you and meeting you in person. I've been
so much.
Following you for so long. It's so great to meet you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for coming here.
And see you tomorrow. Maybe the concert.
Absolutely.
Like headbanging. Cool, man. Thank you.
Awesome.